Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Congressman Adriano Espaillat from New York, chair of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus. We are here once again because the Trump administration has once again exceeded its authority. 3 U.S. citizen children were sent back to Honduras with their mothers, who were deported without even the minimum humanitarian consideration. The Trump administration places blame on the mothers, as they always do. They blame other people who have been productive members of our society for years. They know nothing but to punch down. That's what the Trump administration does time and time again. These immigrant mothers were not given due process. Again, the key word here is due process. Their children were outright denied any rights as U.S. citizens. This administration is not a law and order administration. It is an unlawful administration, one that chooses to break the law time and time again. A bad faith application of the law executed by overwhelming government authority is as toxic and dangerous as having no law at all. The deportation of U.S. citizens, in this case children, is an outright violation of fundamental human rights and, of course, due process. We know the Trump administration's plans. Trump said it again and again. This is just the beginning. That's what he's saying. We only expect them to become more cruel and callous as their poll numbers precipitously drop. They're not getting the message. Trump is already forcing the hand of big law firms to protect its immigration officials and protect them from breaking the law. He's extorted some of them and asked them for money, millions of dollars. Some of the law firms in the private sector that traditionally have helped disenfranchised communities get access to the courts. The Congressional Hispanic Caucus and its allies are keeping tabs. We will keep tabs and will bring consequences to those who relish in the persecution of innocent family, and in this case, of 3 U.S.-born American children. So with us we have today a group of members from the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and an attorney from the ACLU in Louisiana who's directly connected to this case. And we start by hearing from our Vice Chair of Communications, Representative Norma Torres from California.
Thank you, Chairman Adriano. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Congresswoman Norma Torres, and I am here to call out what too many are afraid to say. The United States of America is targeting its own citizens simply because of how they look, where their parents were born, and the language they speak at home. ICE and Border Patrol aren't protecting public safety. They're out in our communities hunting people, racially profiling them, and tearing families apart. They don't care about citizenship. They care about their quotas. And this isn't new. Years ago, the mayor of Pomona, a sitting mayor, was arrested by Border Patrol agents. Why? Because he was a Latino man driving an old truck while wearing a gas station uniform. Stupid them. did not believe him when he told them that he was the proud owner of the gas station. They didn't ask any questions. They didn't care. They assumed. That is racial profiling. That is abuse of power. Recently, ICE began deporting toddlers. A 4-year-old American child with stage 4 cancer, deported without medical care or a change of clothes. A 2-year-old U.S. citizen deported without due process. A judge said it himself. There is strong suspicion that the U.S. is deporting citizens. Let's be real. If these were not children of immigrants, this would have never happened. And just today, Donald Trump said he could bring Kilmar Abrego Garcia, a lawful U.S. resident, back from El Salvador. But he is choosing not to. He's playing politics with people's lives. We've seen this before. This is what we read about in our history books. Not with violence, but with paperwork, with quotas, with profiling, with silence. The erasure of people begins when governments target the others, detaining and erasing them, using the law as justification. We've had ICE agents raid Home Depot parking lots and round up Latino workers like cattle. We've had U.S. citizens held in detention even after showing proof of their citizenship. That is not an accident. That is a pattern. And now, under Republican leadership, that pattern has a green light. This administration is fueling, directing it, and owning it, and being proud of it. So let me be clear about what happens next. I am not asking for permission. I am not appealing to the conscience of those who have zero conscience. I am calling for public exposure, oversight, and resistance. I am demanding that Congress hold emergency hearings on racial profiling and the unlawful detention of U.S. citizens. Civil rights organizations and the press follow every one of these cases and put names, faces, and facts in front of the American people. Communities organize and document ICE activity. If we can't rely on our government to follow the law, then we will have to make sure everyone sees when they break it. Because this is no longer about bad policy. This is a political strategy rooted in fear, racism, and control. If we don't confront it head on, we will look back and realize we let it happen again. Citizenship must mean something. Rights must mean something. And we must fight like hell to make sure that they do. Thank you. I want to say a few words in Spanish. Estados Unidos está deportando a sus propios ciudadanos porque son latinos. No se trata de seguridad pública, se trata del racismo, se trata de cuotas, se trata del silencio. ICE y la patrulla de fronteriza están silenciando a las personas basado cómo se ven, de dónde son sus familias y qué idioma hablan. Hago una llamada para que se realicen audiencias de emergencia en el Congreso para que los grupos de derechos civiles expongan cada caso y para que las comunidades documenten el abuso de ICE donde quiera que ocurra. Porque si el gobierno no cumple con la ley, nos vamos a asegurar de que el público vea cada vez que la rompen. La ciudadanía y los derechos deben significar algo. Y yo voy a luchar con todo para que sea real. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Norma. Again, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus will not be discouraged. We will not be deterred. We will not be silenced. We will not dismay in denouncing the deportation of U.S. citizens and the violation of due process for many residents across the United States. Estamos aquí en defensa de 3 niños que fueron abruptamente deportados, incluyendo a uno de ellos con una condición de salud crítica, cáncer. Sus madres fueron deportadas también, son ciudadanos americanos y merecen tener acceso a todos los derechos y privilegios que la Constitución de los Estados Unidos le extiende a cada uno de los ciudadanos norteamericanos. Por eso estamos aquí en defensa de ellos, de sus familias que fueron deportadas a Honduras, y por tal razón ahora presentamos al vicepresidente de Diversidad e Inclusión, el representante Joaquín Castro.
Thank you, Adriano. The first 100 days of Donald Trump's presidency have been a disaster. From a tanking stock market, rising prices, making it harder for all Americans to live and survive, ignoring Congress and the courts, laying off thousands and thousands of people with hardly any due process. It's been a disaster. But perhaps the scariest thing for Americans, all Americans, that we should be concerned about is the abuse of due process and the abuse of the rule of law by this president. We've stood here for the last few months at least and warned that they would start with the most vulnerable, the people they can define as other, the people they can make others hate. They would not give those people even bare due process, cursory due process, as so many other presidents and administrations and Congresses have in this country. And we saw that. They made up lies about Kilmore Brego Garcia and sent him to a gulag in El Salvador. And we said that they wouldn't stop there. That wouldn't just be the undocumented who were affected, or even legal permanent residents with a right to be here. It would also result in a dragnet of U.S. citizens. And that is happening now. A man from New Mexico, a United States citizen, was detained, imprisoned for 10 days. Just a few days ago, a family in Oklahoma had its home raided. They were sent outside in their underwear, despite the fact that they explained and showed that they were United States citizens. And now, 3 children, U.S. citizens, have been sent to Honduras. Let's be clear about something. You cannot deport United States citizens. These children have not been deported. They've been banished by an abusive, authoritarian government in the United States, their home country. I would ask President Trump and my colleagues in Congress what crime this 4-year-old with cancer committed. What crime did this child commit that he or she couldn't even be afforded the basic care that they needed? Stage 4 cancer. What kind of country are we becoming? Every day in the United States, it seems as though we lose more of our humanity because of the actions of Donald Trump and this administration. But that march towards inhumanity and that march towards authoritarianism relies on people cowering rather than showing courage. I too am a cancer patient. I understand how important cancer treatment is, what it means to get your medication, your treatment to survive. And so I am asking those who know what that's like, both patients, family members of cancer patients, and the organizations that every year come up here and lobby members of Congress for funding, for stronger laws, for things that protect cancer patients. Groups like the American Cancer Society and so many others. I'm asking them not to cower. I'm asking them to speak up for a United States citizen, a 4-year-old child with pediatric oncology. Unless we speak up, unless we take action, this will not be the last press conference, because this will not be the last abuse of United States citizens, and it won't just be on immigration, it'll be on so many other issues as well. And a final word about those who have gone along with this. Donald Trump didn't go into that ICE facility and fly these kids or their mothers to Honduras. He relied on compliant and willing ICE officers and other government officials to obey these illegal orders. They must also follow the law. They should also search their conscience. This is how evil things happen. When people, probably good people with their own families, perhaps with their own children, are willing to do bad things for a president who is abusing his power. That is where we are now, and we all as Americans must push back.
Thank you, Joaquin. And now we will hear from our good friend, Representative Juan Vargas from the state of California.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I'm glad my colleague, Joaquin Castro, spoke from a personal perspective. Cancer. Just think of the cruelty of taking a child that's 4 years old, has stage 4 cancer, and sending him to a country that has very little medical care. That's the cruelty that we see here. That's the presidency that we see here. That's the administration that we see here. Sending that 4-year-old child, a U.S. citizen, to Honduras with stage 4 cancer is a death sentence when the child committed no crime. The child did nothing wrong, and yet he's committed nothing illegal and gets a death sentence. And who remains quiet? Not only my friends on the other side of the aisle, I want to call out the churches. Where are you? Where's the outrage? Every church ought to be outraged. Instead, you pastors, you talk about nothing. Leviticus very clearly says, the foreigner residing among you must be treated like your native born. Love them as you love yourselves. For you too were strangers and aliens in Egypt. Or for you Christians, when Jesus talks in Matthew 25, and he separates the good from the bad, and he says, when I was a stranger, you welcomed me. Well, these children are not even strangers. And we deport them like this. There is a curse on our land because of Donald Trump. Look at the economy. Look at what's happening among all of us. The hate that so many people have, the anger. When instead we should be trying to figure out, how do we help this child? How do we save this 4-year-old child? That's what a good country does. A good country tries to figure out what are we going to do to save this kid? We don't say, you're sick. You're going to take your mom and your siblings and we're going to send you off to die somewhere else where there's no medical care. And yet that's what this administration did. And everyone sits around like it's okay, especially the churches. What the hell's wrong with you guys? You ought to do something. I want to thank those that have stood up. I want to thank the ACLU. They're here. I want to thank my alma mater, Harvard. They stood up. It's time to stand up and fight back. Don't allow this to happen. Piensa en la crueldad de tomar un niño de 4 años que tiene cáncer y cáncer muy avanzado en la etapa 4, muy avanzado. Y este niño que es ciudadano americano lo deportan a Honduras para morir. Eso realmente es lo que hicieron. Es una sentencia de muerte si no regresa. ¿Y por qué? ¿Qué crimen hizo él? ¿Qué crimen? Ninguno. Ningún crimen. No hizo un crimen este niño de 4 años y lo mandan a morir. ¿Dónde están las iglesias? Ustedes hablan de nada. Y aquí cuando realmente tenemos una emergencia no dicen nada. Se quedan ahí callados, con una bola de idiotas. Ya es tiempo que hagan algo. Tenemos que resistir este pecado realmente que vemos en nuestro país. Hay que hacer algo. Y con eso les doy las gracias a los que están aquí. Les doy las gracias a ACLU, a los abogados que están protegiendo a estos niños. Muchísimas gracias a ellos que están haciendo algo. Again, thank you to the lawyers. Thank you to everyone else that is standing up. Chairman, thank you.
Thank you, Representative. And now, as we know, these children resided in Louisiana, in the state of Louisiana, precisely the same state where Speaker Johnson is from. And so we're very concerned that this type of illegal action is being perpetrated in the same state where the leader of the House of Representatives represents a district. So we have with us today the ACLU Louisiana Legal Director, Nora Ahmed.
Thank you so much, Chairman. This is Family Separation 2.0, and it is being replicated hundreds, if not thousands of times in this country right now. So yes, we must bring these children back. Our nation refused to tolerate family separation the first time around. We cannot tolerate it now. While everyone in this country should be absolutely appalled at how we are treating immigrant mothers and their U.S. citizen children, I do hope to see mothers and the honorable men who stand beside them of all stripes saying this will not happen in our country. They need to demand better than what we are seeing. They need to demand a stop to the cycle of familial violence that will have reverberations on these mothers, these children, their families, and this nation for decades to come. These young children we are talking about, who were kidnapped alongside their mothers, that's just the tip of the iceberg. Just last week, I received reports that there are more than a dozen pregnant mothers in one of our most notorious immigration jails in the country, in the state of Louisiana. A number of those mothers have miscarried. And just yesterday, I received reports of sexual assaults taking place in this same jail by medical staff. These are mothers I am talking about who have been torn away from their babies. Their babies are now living with other people. Their babies have been placed in youth immigration jails. Their babies have been placed in foster care. Our country is now bringing the full weight of our cruel deportation and detention system onto mothers and children. But here's what the American people must know. By law, immigration detention is not allowed to be punitive. It cannot be used as a form of punishment by law. And yet here we are. But the people have the ability to say no more. You've heard from congressional representatives today, and I hope in the days to come we are going to see a swell of voices saying the same thing. Everyone has the capacity to change the course of history that we are seeing take place right now. They can demand change from their representatives. The will of the people governs this democracy. We stand to lose it if we silence our voices. So say no to family separation 2.0. If you don't, it could happen to your family. Thank you so much, Chairman, for having us.
Thank you, Nora. Thank you for your help in this case. And we have also another voice from the National Immigration Project, is Executive Director Serini Shebaya.
Thank you. I am one of the attorneys representing the 2-year-old child in this case, the U.S. citizen child. And to add on to what's been said already, I just wanted to give a little color to the depth of the cruelty that was exercised in this particular case. We are definitely seeing family separation. And this is only the tip of the iceberg in the sense that we found out about those cases because we have such a deep presence in Louisiana. But I am sure that there are similar cases happening elsewhere that we are not even hearing about. What happened in this situation is that a mother and her 2 children were told to come for a routine ICE check-in. And then another mother and her 2 children were also told to come in. The mothers were instructed to bring their children with them. They were also told that these are routine ISAP check-ins. One of the mothers was led to believe that it was a family wellness check. ICE fully knew that there were 3 U.S. citizen children involved. ICE also knew that the 4-year-old had stage 4 cancer and was in the middle of undergoing treatment. Nonetheless, what they did is that when the mothers showed up with their children, they whisked them away. They refused to allow them time to speak with family members or legal representatives to explore their own options as well as the options for their children. It was a dead-of-night kidnapping where people were being held. Attorneys and family members were not being told where they were. And in the case of the mother with the 4-year-old cancer patient, they were deported within 24 hours. Just think about that, 24 hours to think about what is best for your child, to communicate with family members, to talk to legal representatives about options. None of that happened in this case. And no matter what you're being told by DHS and the government, those are actually the facts. Multiple people were trying to reach them. At all relevant times, there were legal custodians ready to take the children. And these mothers, if they had been given a chance to talk to an attorney, attorneys were present and asking to speak with them, also had legal filings available to them. This family separation was senseless, and it is just another example of how far this administration is willing to go to try to push the boundaries and see what it can get away with without anyone noticing. And so what we need here is for everybody to notice and to stand up and say, this is not okay. It's not okay for the children. It's not okay for the mothers. It's not okay as a way to treat any human being with dignity and respect. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Questions, and if you could say your outlet, please. Just to clarify, we're talking about Honduras here, different country, Central America, and the answer is no. We haven't been discouraged from traveling anywhere. Next question. Preguntas. ¿No tienen preguntas? Gracias. Gracias. We'll have more information about that later. Thank you so much.
Nos vamos a parar.